This presentation will briefly outline an opportunity for substantially increasing funding for food security and climate action in Africa. This opportunity has emerged thanks to the synergy created by several different developments that have occurred simultaneously. The first, and possibly the most important, is the significant increase in funding by the private and public sectors for food security and climate action. For example, at COP28, over 200 organizations around the world committed to providing $7 billion for food security. As well, the World Bank announced it is making available $45 billion globally for food and nutrition security. This bank is also providing substantial funding for climate action. For example, it reported that it delivered $31.7 billion in climate finance in fiscal year 2022. The African Development Bank, or AFDB, indicated it is providing a lending pipeline of $2.9 billion to support Dakar II agricultural delivery compacts in 2024. As well, the International Fund for Agricultural Development, or IFAD, has launched a $500 million fund to channel climate finance to smallholder farmers. The Global Agriculture and Food Security Program, or GAFSP, indicated it has already provided $2.44 billion in financing. Lastly, it has been reported that the Agriculture Innovation Mission for Climate Initiative, which is also known as AIM for Climate, has grown to more than $29 billion in the last 3 years. To access this funding, the following key steps are needed. First, research the full range of funding sources. Next, build connections with funders. Next, engage organizations that have successfully implemented projects and have the capacity to scale up. Then, select appropriate technologies to maximize impact of a project. Finally, prepare and submit credible professional quality bankable proposals. Since most organizations do not have the capacity to implement all these important tasks, we and our partners formed a new organization to provide the needed services to implement these tasks. This organization is called the Alliance for Food Security Action in Africa, or AFSAA. Its main focus is to facilitate funding for sustainable technologies and methodologies to improve food security in Africa. In order to accomplish this goal, it implements several important tasks, including researching potential funders, collaborating with like-minded organizations, engaging with funders, assist its members to develop project proposals, apply to funders along with submitting proposals to them, and follow up with funders. To maximize funding for projects, AFSAA can help organizations access blended finance. Shown here are some blended finance components, starting with loans, which can be guaranteed by the Africa Guarantee Fund. Once a loan guarantee commitment is obtained, AFSAA can then assist organizations to apply for grant funding and/or obtain investment from impact investors. If a project is over $10 million in total, a project developer may want to use an online platform called Convergence Finance to attract investments to help reach 100% funding for this project. AFSAA can assist a project developer to access this platform. There are many foundations now publicly supporting climate action. For example, Philanthropy for Climate has now over 900 member foundations. There are also many foundations that are part of the Africa Philanthropy Network as well as the East Africa Philanthropy Network. We expect that most of these foundations support both food security funding as well as climate action. There is a large number of impact investors around the world that are collectively investing hundreds of billions of dollars. For example, according to the Global Impact Investing Network, or GIIN, there are over 3,907 organizations that currently manage approximately $1.57 trillion in impact investing assets worldwide. There are several impact investor organizations around the world. Shown here are 3 notable ones, starting with the Global Impact Investing Network. Next is the Africa Impact Investing Group, and finally is the Canada Forum for Impact Investment and Development, or CAFIID. There are now several initiatives that facilitate investment in food security and climate solutions. You can consider them components of an ecosystem that can facilitate increased investment in food security and climate solutions. This includes online platforms, project facilitation services, project aggregation, and financial incentives. One key component that is making this opportunity possible are online platforms, such as the International Renewable Energy Agency's Climate Investment Platform, the Energy Transition Accelerator Financing Platform, and Convergence Finance's Investment Platform. These platforms can facilitate connections between project developers and investors. Then a range of complementary services and financial incentives can be accessed to help move projects forward. Another important component is project aggregation. Since very substantial sums of money are managed by large institutional investors that often do not have the administrative capacity to invest in smaller projects, aggregating smaller investments into larger ones is an important part of increasing investment in food security and climate solutions. Fortunately, some large impact investment funds do perform this type of service. In addition, there has been considerable growth of organizations that provide project and business facilitation services over the last several years. They provide a critical service to project developers to help them develop bankable projects and obtain funding for them. An example business and project facilitation service provider is the Private Financing Advisory Network, or PFAN. There is a growing range of financial incentives becoming available for food security and climate solutions from organizations such as Africa Development Bank. These incentives help make investing in projects significantly more attractive to a private investor. You can view lists of the incentives on multiple online platforms, including the NDC Partnership's Climate Finance Explorer and the Terra Viva Grants Directory. Due to the growing awareness of the need for more action on climate change, new funding programs are being launched by various organizations. For example, UNDP Platform for Voluntary Bilateral Cooperation, which is based on the new carbon market mechanism set out in Article 6.2 of the Paris Agreement. Currently only Ghana, Vanuatu, and Switzerland launched projects through this platform, but this is expected to expand to many more countries. There are several training and education services available that relate to climate finance and smart technologies. For example, there is the Climate Finance and Investment Accelerator that is focused on finance and investments. In addition, there is the Ghana Climate Innovation Center that is more focused on climate solutions. For sustainable agriculture, there is the West African Center for Water, Irrigation and Sustainable Agriculture at the University of Development Studies in Ghana. As well, there are considerable online resources available. For example, as part of their Africa Climate Action Initiative, the Canada-Africa Partnership Network created several excellent training videos that are available on their YouTube channel. The Agriculture Innovation Mission for Climate, or AIM for Climate, was launched at COP26. By the end of COP29, AIM for Climate increased investments to more than $29 billion. Partners in AIM for Climate rises to over 800 at COP29. As well, the number of innovation initiatives, called innovation sprints, in AIM for Climate rose to 129 by this same COP. Shown here is an example of how to combine innovative technologies to grow more food. This combination includes an enclosure with fine plastic screen on its exterior to protect plants from pests, which is called a net house. Inside this enclosure is a drip irrigation system to provide efficient delivery of water to the plants. The water fed to the plants would include a biofertilizer, which converts nitrogen from the air to nitrates for plants. Since the cost of wind and solar energy has declined substantially over the last decade and is now often less expensive than energy generated from fossil fuels, one area of climate solutions that will likely receive the biggest increase in investment is in the renewable energy area. In order to attract funding from sources that fund food security and/or climate action, it is helpful to use technologies that can both generate profits and create significant impact. Fortunately, there has been a considerable increase in the number of climate-smart technologies that can do both. For example, you can reduce food waste through solar-powered cold storage facilities. One company building and selling these systems in West Africa is called TAGE. As well, you can purchase solar-powered irrigation systems from companies such as Sun Culture. Innovative solar-powered microgrids are available from companies such as Flex Grid. One very cost-effective way to provide clean water to a community is through a water filter system that allows people to buy this water via their cell phone. One company that is selling these systems is called Sustec. Lastly, technology is now available that extracts moisture from air for use as drinking water. It can be purchased from a company called Skywater. In conclusion, there is a substantial opportunity to increase funding for food security and climate action has emerged due to several new simultaneous developments. This first and perhaps the most important development is substantial increase in multi-billion US dollar funding commitments for food security and climate action. These major funding commitments are enabling a growing range of financial incentives to become available to encourage private sector investment. To help facilitate this funding, the Alliance for Food Security Action in Africa has been launched, and it can play an important role in helping many organizations access this funding. As well, A substantial decrease in costs of renewable energy technologies and increase in range of available climate-smart technologies are creating many new attractive investment opportunities. If you want to learn more about the opportunity to access funding for food security and climate action projects, visit climatesan.org/FSCA.